Welcome to the Wedding Business Growth Coach podcast, a podcast dedicated to sharing everything you need in bite-sized episodes to set up your wedding business for success and get your diary fully booked, full of those dream wedding clients. You're here with me, Jen Maynard, Wedding Business Growth Coach and founder of the Boho Bride Guide wedding blog and supply directory. Each episode is full of value and structured around my wedding business anchor fundamentals framework to give you straightforward, step-by-step activities to put in place into your business that will position yourself as the go-to wedding supplier within your specialism. Let's go! Hello and welcome to this episode of the Wedding Business Growth Coach podcast. It is super exciting to have you here on the first episode of season 1. We're going to be covering what this podcast is all about in this episode. So who this podcast is created for, why I started the podcast in the first place, what you can expect to gain from subscribing to season 1, and a little bit more about me, my background, and why I am really well positioned to enable you to set up your wedding business for success. So let's get started. Who is this podcast for? So the Wedding Business Growth Coach podcast is aimed at wedding suppliers and venues within their first 3 years of business. So whether you have literally just started out and you're just looking for advice, tips and tricks on how to set up, whether your wedding business is your side hustle at present, so you're working a 9-to-5 job and working in the background to get your wedding business established, or whether you've been working within the first few years of your wedding business full time, but looking to implement the sort of infrastructure needed to really give you the platform to make a successful wedding business. Why did I start this podcast? So firstly, I very much am an advocate for sort of personal development and investing in yourself as a business owner, which then reflects on the success of your wedding business. And I feel really passionately that self-development and business development should be accessible to everyone. And so wherever you live in the world, whatever funds you have available to invest in your self-development, I basically want you to be able to flourish and grow whatever your circumstances. So if you're willing to put in the work, the content and the knowledge base and skills are available for you to learn and implement within your business. And so that is why I very much decided to set up a podcast, free weekly episodes that include step-by-step actionable activities that you can put into your business and instantly start getting positive outcomes from it. What can you expect from subscribing to our podcast? So the Wedding Business Growth Coach podcast is going to be a weekly episode throughout season 1. Every single episode, as I mentioned, will be one piece of actionable knowledge that you can take on board, and that then is accompanied by an activity that you can take away. And when you set aside some time to work on your business as a business owner rather than in our businesses, because sometimes it goes a little bit crazy. So when we set ourselves that time within our weekly schedule to work on our business, these actions and activities that I will be sharing with you, you can literally take them, write them down in your notebook, and get them implemented into your business and start getting some real results from that. So a little bit more about me and why I am suited to help you set up for success. So I'm Jen Maynard. I'm a mum of 2 young boys. They are now 2 and 4. I have a background in the corporate world for over 10 years, working in training, coaching, people development, basically enabling people to be their best version of them within the work setting. That has very much been my path since school. I very much followed that corporate ladder, and actually I wrongly assumed that because employed work, secure in very inverted commas, it was very much sort of inbred in me that going through the corporate world would be the right thing for me. So I pursued it. However, I have always majorly had issues with imposter syndrome, whatever job I have managed to get. So it's weird. I've got like confidence to go for jobs and like to develop into roles, but I've always majorly suffered internally with imposter syndrome and not feeling like I am worthy to be where I was in the corporate world. However, it was well paid as such. So I stuck with it and I followed what I thought was right for me. I did this right up until about 5 years ago, where it got to a point where I actually had to have 3 months off work, paid sick leave, due to anxiety and stress. I'd never experienced a panic attack up until that point, and yet an accumulation of life events and stress levels at work, and how I was actually dealing with working within the corporate world that actually wasn't creative and wasn't what I love doing, which is actually helping one-to-one people. I'd gone up the ladder to a certain point where actually I wasn't working one-on-one with people, and that's where my heart is. That's where my strengths are. And yeah, so long story short, we'd been having, so from a personal point of view, we've been having sort of conception sort of issues with regarding to wanting to start a family, then major stress at work, all came together with other sort of home circumstances that actually I ended up having to have 3 months off work because it just got too much. In that time, I actually booked onto a coaching program for myself and realized very quickly that I'd actually been following a path that I thought I needed to follow, but not allowing any sort of creative fulfillment or sort of joy in my life. It was very, money and moving up the ladder development type area. And I'd been really missing out on that creative part of my being. That aside, I'd always wanted to work in the wedding industry. It always really like attracted me, but it was never something that I'd looked at as an option up until I then fast forward slightly. I then did get pregnant for the first time, and on maternity leave, when I had my first child, my little boy, I realized that life is so short, and what am I doing? I had a bit of an epiphany, and I was like, right, I'm going to start a wedding floral design business that specializes within the boho weddings arena and concentrating on venue transformations. And that's where my first wedding business was born, Parket and Peony Flowers. And so, yeah, that is basically where I learned. I then also became obsessed with sort of entrepreneurial books, self-development books, anything I could get my hands on, really, to actually learn the sort of the infrastructure, the systems that are needed, the mindset that's needed, all around setting up a business in general at that time. And then implemented that into my wedding business. At this point, I then went back part-time to my corporate role. So I was doing both my floral design business as well as my corporate world. Again, slightly fast forward, I then had my second little boy. And that then was when we ended up in lockdown in 2020. So therefore, Parker and Peony Flowers took a pause at that point. and as well, I had 2 kids in tow, little boys at that point. Lockdown hit. There was masses of sort of the unknown and anxieties around that through the sort of wedding supplier community that I had established by that time. And so decided to set up the Boho Bride Guide Facebook group and podcast at that point. And that was very much a space where I then implemented my training background and sort of coaching specialities into supporting wedding suppliers through lockdown, and enabling them to establish those infrastructures, those systems, and setting themselves up for success, ready for when we opened after lockdown. And we know now in hindsight that was on and off for some time, but that is basically where the Wedding Business Growth Coach was born, basically bringing together my expertise from being in the wedding world, as well as my training and development background. In amongst that, what also happened was I decided to set up the Boho Bride Guide wedding directory and blog. And so since then, I have been sort of having 2 hats, really. I've left the corporate world, and I now am the founder of the Boho Bride Guide blog and wedding directory and community, which is the part that I absolutely love, bringing together fellow wedding suppliers within the same niche that have sort of a love for, they're looking to continually build their business, as well as build a community to champion and cheerlead each other on. And then I've got the Wedding Business Growth Coach that then enables them to implement what now is the Wedding Business Anchor Fundamentals framework that I teach into their business, so they can establish themselves as a sustainable, profitable business that enables them to be creatively fulfilled and basically live their best life, how they see balance for themselves, basically. And so I wanted to go into a little bit of detail around what my Wedding Business Anchor Fundamentals framework looks like, because this is the framework for the podcast content. Okay, so this podcast is very much for you if you can resonate with any of these areas where you can look to improve your wedding business. Okay, so the Anchor acronym stands for attract, nurture, close, human connection, over deliver, and refer and retain. Okay, so those are the acronyms, and I'm going to go through them individually. So this podcast is very much for you if you are looking to attract your dream wedding clients through the online content that you put out into the world. If you're looking to learn more around how to nurture trusting relationships through your online content, to actually bring along your prospective wedding clients that are sort of lurking in the background, watching what you have to say on social media, and so through your content, bring them on the journey, basically to get that increased website traffic and inquiries from your dream wedding clients. And it's all around qualifying your prospective wedding clients through the content that you put out there, addressing their pain points, looking at what their desires are, and positioning yourself as that expert, as that go-to wedding supplier within your niche. Within the content on the podcast, we're going to be going into lots of detail around how we close a wedding sale or wedding booking. This covers lots of elements from what does your product ecosystem look like? Are you creating a journey for your prospective wedding client, making it super easy to decide what they want to buy from you, at what price point, and making sure that you are pricing yourself for the value that you offer, not so that you get compared on price. You know, they're coming to you for what you offer, not what price point you're at. The next level down, I've called it human connection. And this is basically that journey, that client journey that you take your wedding couples on from the point at which they put their deposit down right the way through to their wedding day. How do you build that relationship with them? How do you make sure that you're calming their nerves around for their big day? How they how you're building that trust, and making sure that you've got that connection with them, so when their wedding day comes, you've got a brilliant relationship with them, and they feel 100% guaranteed you are going to smash it out the park for their wedding day, and they're not going to have to worry. Also, in that area of work, we look at how we automate that system to make it as easy and as streamlined for you as possible, so you're not spending a lot of your time in that area, but your clients are feeling really happy and comfortable around what you're going to offer them on their big day. On the big day, the next level down is all around how do we over deliver what we intend to do for their wedding day. So in today's world, we can no longer rely on, what we say in our contract we're going to do and what we do on the day. Doing what you say you're going to do, I'm afraid, isn't good enough in today's world, and how psychology works. So to get a client shouting from the rooftops about what you have to offer, you need to over deliver and surprise and delight them with what you deliver, really. And so we've got a whole section around how we do that and how we plan that into our product ecosystem. And then the last section I talk about is how do we gain referrals and retain our wedding clients as future clients. Okay, so the first element is, from over delivering, then how do we create a system to capture that amazing testimonial and referral and pull it back into our business to make sure that we're gaining Google referrals, to make sure that we're gaining Facebook reviews and getting things on your website, getting things on Google, Google My Business, making sure that all that work that you're doing, your new prospective clients can now see that result, making sure that we're getting that in there. And then how we then look at your product ecosystem and make sure that we've got products in there and packages. So once someone's had their wedding day with you, you've gained that masses of trust, that brand loyalty, they're your loyal customers that are going to stick by you. You then need to make sure that you've got products after that they can buy from you, because you've put in the hard work. You just need some products after to continue that customer relationship with them. So that's my wedding business anchor fundamentals framework. Now, surrounding that, I then look at things around mindset, things around habit forming, habit stacking, to make sure that on a daily, weekly, monthly sort of tactical level about what you're doing each day, making sure that you are maximizing your efforts, streamlining your activities to basically squeeze as much sort of productivity out of the time you have available. So whatever stage you are at within your wedding business journey, whatever time capacity you have, even if it's 20 minutes a day, if you're still full-time in another job and you've got 20 minutes or an hour a day, we look at how you can be maximizing that time to be moving your wedding business plans forward and implementing it to getting you those regular dream wedding clients that you can't wait to work with. So that's the plan. Can't wait for it. If you have any questions, please do DM me on Instagram. That's where I love to hang out. Any podcast content or topics that you would love to cover, I would love to hear that on DMs on Instagram, or I've got an email, which is jen@weddingbusinessgrowthcoach.com. Would love to hear from you. Otherwise, I can't wait to see you at the next episode. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and took away some wedding business building value. Make sure you subscribe to the Wedding Business Growth Coach podcast to ensure you get notified every time a new episode goes live. See you next time.